Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back, Droid Life Show. Today we're on episode 92, actually, September 11th. I'm your host, Kellen. With me, Tim. Tim, say hi.
Hey guys, how's it going? Tim here.
So, thanks for joining us. On today's show, we're going to talk through. Well, I finally have a Moto X Pure Edition in hand. I've had about the last 24 hours or so with it. So, share some thoughts there. Android Pay is now official as of this week, which is a big deal. So, sort of, I think. Tim has some things to say to OnePlus, and Apple announced a whole bunch of stuff. I don't know how major any of their announcements were, but we'll get to that. And we're, Android fanboys or something that piss everyone off on those Apple days. So that should be a nice conversation. Let's just start with the Moto X Pure Edition. So it went up for pre-order. Was it a week ago? Week and a half ago? Something like that?
Yeah, about a week ago.
Yeah, so about a week ago, and you could customize them on Moto Maker, and Motorola kind of left the release timing of that open-ended. I'm a part of the press, so mine kind of got whitelisted ahead of time, and so media got their units. I went with the silicone back and gold trim and a white front. I kind of explained in my unboxing video that I went silicone because it just feels damn good. And I was a big fan of the leather last year, and we're fans of the wood ones as well. So I even kind of surprised myself when I did this, but like after spending a few times with them before I was able to buy one, this is cool, dude. I know you went leather with yours. I don't know. There's something about this. It just doesn't feel. It's not like a plastic phone. It has like this soft texture to it. Anyways, so we've got it in house, unboxed it and all that stuff. My general impressions after a day are it feels a lot like last year's Moto X, except it's a lot bigger. So was last year a 5.2 inch display? I think so. So it went 5.2 to 5.7. So you're close to a half an inch of size there gained. It definitely doesn't feel like the biggest phone I've ever held. Sort of Note 5 territory. Like, the Note 5 doesn't feel ridiculously huge anymore because everyone's phone's big. So it's kind of around there. Like, it's got a nice curve to it, fits in your hand. It's not overly heavy. Still big. Like I wish there was a Moto X Tiny or something, Moto X Mini. Performance seems to be pretty good, though I've seen some hiccups here and there. And with Moto phones, you typically don't get any jank, but I'm not gonna lie, there's just been some hiccups here and there that I'm not super fond of. Nothing to be, I don't think, worried about. But as far as the camera, I really haven't had a chance to test the camera. I took some indoor pictures of like my son and just messing around, and I can't say I was like blown away by the camera indoors anyway. Definitely want to take it out, take it in some different situations and see what we can get. Most of the early reviews all suggest that the camera is greatly improved. So that should be interesting and fun. Otherwise, I don't want to call it boring because brand new phones are never that boring, but it kind of just reminds me of last year's Moto X, but blown up, and then with a supposedly better camera. Like the software is not any different, still stock. Like the Moto X second gen is running Lollipop. They added a new sort of gesture where you can do like your OK Google or OK Moto X talk, and then you hold it up to your ear and it does a discrete sort of response instead of just out in the open. I mean, I guess that's okay. That's cool. I can't imagine I would use it that much. Otherwise, it's like it's Moto Display and it's Moto Voice and it's Moto Assist and Actions. Like we've seen all of those. They didn't add anything really new. It's just going to all be about, is the battery life awesome? Is the performance okay with the Snapdragon 808? And is the camera any good? And so I obviously need to take more time to test both of those. The phone looks great though. Like I'm actually satisfied with my custom choices here. I know it's kind of blown out on camera, but I don't know, dude. What do you think? You've seen, I mean, I don't think you've had a chance to hold the phone yet, but
Never even held it, but I'm looking forward to. I mean, now that you got Fi kind of like up and going on it that you're testing, I'm like more excited than ever to just try it out. But you tried explaining kind of like the textured back of the leather for the leather options on the phone, so I'm anxious to kind of get that in my hand and feel like what you've been talking about this whole time. I'm sure like it's still good quality and all, but I'm ready just to try it myself, you know. And I realize that it's a little bigger, but I mean, it still looks like a good phone. I mean, the more I see it, you know, the more it kind of grows on me. And it's priced so well. It's got some good specs, and from the camera samples I've seen so far, it seems pretty good on that in that area. So I'm really looking forward to getting my hands on it and trying it out.
Yeah, the leather you mentioned. I did kind of back away from it partly because what you just said, that it has that texture. It's got like a crosshatch texture to it. I'm hoping that that'll just smooth out. You know, like it'll be a little rough at first, and then once you use it for a little while, that'll smooth out and it'll probably look great. And you mentioned Fi as well. So we actually just posted this up, but I happen to have just an unactivated Project Fi sim, and so tossed it in the phone just to see what would happen, and it walked me through the whole activation process. Activated it as if I had an Nexus 6 basically, and fired it up, gave me a phone number, like it did everything. And this was not an already activated sim. This was a brand new sim. I threw it in the phone and it walked me through the whole process. And so it works on Fi. There's some things though that we don't know. Like we've already heard some reports from other people who have tested it that it doesn't work at all on Sprint. Like it only connects to T-Mobile. So the whole, you know, one of the big benefits with Fi is that transfer, that seamless transition from one network to the next, and Wi-Fi calling and transferring between Wi-Fi and network. So it probably can't do any of that stuff. But if you want to, you know, use Project Fi on T-Mobile only, apparently you can do that now. Like I was able to make calls and use data and use apps and Chrome and all of that stuff. So you can activate it and it works on T-Mobile with Project Fi, which is cool. And who knows, maybe that's like a sign that big things are on the way and that Moto or Google will whitelist it or something. I think I'm just surprised that I was able to activate. I figured it would say you don't have a Nexus 6, you can't do this, but you can do that.
Yeah, it's super exciting. I mean, Project Fi, I had a lot of fun using it, but my one beef with it was that I had to use the Nexus 6, and I don't want to do that. So, yeah, if I can use a smaller device on the network, that would be cool. And plus, you know, why would anyone want to use Sprint's network anyway? I'm sure, like, in some areas, Sprint is super solid. But here in Portland, all you need is T-Mobile. So I don't need to be switching to Sprint for any reason whatsoever, ever. So I'm fine if I'm not able to use Sprint. I get that that's part of the cool thing about Project Fi, but I'm on Wi-Fi mostly anyway. So between Wi-Fi and T-Mobile, I'm sure I'd live just fine.
Yeah, you probably would.
And so you're still paying less. You know, you're paying for what you use. So it's still a better deal than whatever else you're going to get.
Yeah, I mean, if you're not using that much data, because T-Mobile's pricing is pretty
competitive.
Yeah, but if you're not using, you know, 5 gigs of high speed or something like that, and you're only using a couple, like this would be a way to just sort of pay as you go.
Absolutely.
So I'll test it over the weekend and see if I can get this one onto Sprint, or I'll probably head over to XDA where all the dudes must be testing this like crazy and see if they've got any suggestions or if they find anything new. But anyways, it's at least an option. And I also did a video just showing you that this phone is fully unlocked and like you can use it anywhere. I threw an AT&T sim, a Verizon sim. I haven't yet thrown a T-Mobile sim in, but I have Project Fi on T-Mobile right now. So it just works. It's just, I think it's funny. I saw a comment, maybe it was on the YouTube video I did. And so I think it was somebody in Europe, and they were just shocked that like I would even make a video like that, because all of their phones, right, just work everywhere over there.
Right.
And the US is just not that way. Everything's just so locked down that yeah, it's crazy that that's a thing. But soon, maybe if Motorola has some success with this, maybe a lot of other people will do affordable unlocked phones that just work everywhere.
That would be nice.
Apple and Google are about the only other two doing them in the US. So Moto X Pure, though, I've had it for a day, so I don't really have any definitive thoughts. There's nothing super crazy blowing me away right now. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. So, you know, the last year's Moto X was great. So maybe it's just on par with that. And maybe it'll have a better camera. I don't know. We'll get there, though. Let's see. So Android Pay launched this week. Was that yesterday? 2 days ago? Yesterday. So Android Pay, well, it was kind of weird. On Wednesday, Google pushed out this new Google Wallet app. And it wasn't an update to the original Google Wallet. It was a brand new app. And so we all installed that and went, wait a minute, now we have 2 Google Wallet apps. The Android Pay update must be coming then. And sure enough, the next morning, they announced both things, a new Google Wallet app and Android Pay. And so Android Pay, it's pushing out as an update over the original Google Wallet app. And once you have it, you can use Android Pay just like you used to use Google Wallet everywhere. Well, for the most part. And then there's a new Google Wallet app that's more of just a send cash between friends kind of app. Is that how you would describe the new Google Wallet?
Yeah, pretty much like managing your you use it to manage the Google Wallet card that some people got. So you do that and just sending cash to friends. That's about it. Why they couldn't just work that into the Android Pay app, I don't exactly know.
It seems kind of weird. And I think you can also, they built in something, or maybe this is old, where if you have a cash balance in your Google Wallet app, you can not redeem it, but pull the cash out onto any card, I think, pretty quickly or something like that. But yeah, so I don't know if you were able to fire up Android Pay, if you got the new Google Play Services update or not, but the new Android Pay app is about as bare bones as it gets. You open it up and it's basically a list of all of your cards and gift cards and all that stuff that you used to have in Google Wallet. And that's it. There's not really settings for it. There's a couple of little settings. But basically they just want it to be a payment terminal so that you just use it when you want to pay, just to manage your cards. And then Google Wallet, is its own weird thing now. One thing to keep in mind with Android Pay that we discovered yesterday is in order to use it and have any cards attached to it at all, you have to have a secure lock screen set up on your phone. And I think that completely sucks. I'm the type of person that doesn't use a secure lock screen. I sit at home all day, sit at home working in my home office. And even when I'm out, like my phone's always on me. I don't give it to people. I've never really used a secure lock screen. If I'm using the Galaxy S6, oftentimes I'll toss on the fingerprint scanner, which is great. But like the Moto X Pure Edition doesn't have a fingerprint scanner. So I'd have to do a pattern. And I unlock my phone way too many times in a day to want to enter a pattern every time I do something. So I think why Google's doing that. Well, first of all, I saw a bunch of people say, why couldn't they leave it the old way, where you just had to type in a PIN or something in the Google Wallet app? So with the new Google Play Services update and Android Pay, it basically brings Android Pay into like a system level, if you will. And so you can add credit cards through Google Play Services. Like you don't have to actually go into the Android Pay app. So if you didn't have a secure lock screen, somebody could open your phone up, go into your settings, and actually access all of your Android Pay stuff. So it's not behind the Google Wallet app anymore. It's kind of just tucked in the system settings. So I think that's why they're doing that. It still sucks. And so I basically just shut it off because I don't want to use a secure lock screen.
Can you set like a trusted location, or does Android Pay just not care about that?
I don't know. I didn't check trusted location, but you can definitely use trusted devices. So if you have like a Moto 360 attached to it or something, that'll stay unlocked that way. Trusted location would be interesting though. I should probably test that.
Yeah, I use a fingerprint reader like option on the Note 5 at all times, but whenever I'm at my house, it's just set as a trusted location. So whenever I'm here, I don't have to unlock it with my fingerprint, which is nice.
Yeah, I totally forgot about trusted locations. Well, I will test that and
excuse me.
I could probably test it right now while we're still talking. Yeah, I mean, I know it works with smart lock, so it's one of those things that I could test with trusted location.
There's like so much new stuff coming out. It's hard to keep track of it all.
Trusted places. See if it can find me. Yep, that's me.
Yay.
Close enough. There we go. Yep. Right. Anyways, so yeah, that's just something that's kind of changed and everything. Yeah, it's just at a system level, so that's why they must be doing that. I haven't paid with Android Pay yet. I'd imagine it's similar to you just touch a terminal like with Google Wallet and it fires it up.
But it needs NFC. Yeah.
Yeah, it needs NFC. It does seem to be a little more finicky in terms of adding cards. Like I bank with US Bank, and I had a US Bank card attached to Google Wallet, and it was fine. And then when it kind of did its transfer over to Android Pay, it's now asking me to call US Bank to verify that it can be added to Android Pay, which is super annoying. But I added something else, like my PayPal card, and it added no problem. So it seems a little finicky, but Yeah, it is what it is.
Hmm.
And I have Samsung Pay up on my S6 now, so I'm excited to go try that finally.
I mean, that just seems cool. Being able to use it wherever, and you can just, place it next to the reader. I mean, that is some cool technology right there.
Yeah, I mean, as long as it's not leg janking itself to death, like it'd be great to pay with it anywhere.
Yeah, absolutely.
So anyway, Android Pay's out there. You can install it. Like we have the APK posted and things like that. The problem is it may not work unless you get the new Google Play Services update. So you may have to be waiting for that to arrive. So
yeah.
Let's see. So OnePlus, you went on a little rant this week. Do you want to talk about what's going on with you and OnePlus?
Well, nothing's going on with me and OnePlus. That's the damn problem. Can't get the phone. I'm now on a list of 5 million plus people waiting for an invite to purchase the phone. And then, of course, I would have to wait to receive the device. I remember you got your invite not too long ago. You purchased it and you still haven't received it. So
it's been processing for about 5 days.
Yeah. So, I mean, the whole process and I mean, just the idea in general of having to be put on an invite list to purchase a smartphone is just completely ridiculous. And I don't know, yesterday I was just so over it. We got another apology and finally they said we screwed up the launch of the OnePlus 2. No big deal. They screwed up the launch of the OnePlus 1, but finally, once the phone came out, it was great. And it was in our top 5 phones of 2014. And apparently they got cocky, arrogant, maybe, because they put out a phone people love so much. This time around, they decided to take NFC away, make a phone people aren't as excited about, and now it's even harder to get the phone than I think it was in the first place. After they said it would be 30 to 50 times easier to get the phone. Right. I mean, with so much more, 30 to 50 times greater. I mean, that's quite a bit. And you just can't get one. So, oddly enough, there are plenty of people who are like, oh, I've got mine, or I've gotten my invite, but I never bought it. And it's like, yeah, so maybe half of the 5 million people don't actually want the phone, so that number might be a little bloated. But for anyone who does want one, it seems like they're still waiting to get it. And OnePlus just keeps apologizing to their own staff, apologizing to their fans. Like, who cares? Like, I don't want an apology. I want a phone.
Just do something right for once.
Yeah, exactly. The fact that we're even say we're media, and let's say in some universe we are special people who should be able to get a phone so we can review it, which in turn would want or help decide if people should buy this device. You would think they would be almost like a top priority to get a phone too. But no, we're just left waiting. We've asked and just waiting, and no one can get the phone, so we can't review it. And by now, everyone's like, oh, screw OnePlus, man. They're totally over it. And with all the cool stuff coming out with mobile payments and the lack of NFC, it's kind of a deal breaker for some people. So I don't know what the big deal is. I don't know what the problem is. I don't know why they struggle so much. And one guy yesterday told me to get over myself and that I should never bring up the sexist contest that they held last year. And personally, I'm not I don't really care about all that stuff. But the fact of the matter is that they did do it, and they're still making promises that they can't keep. So it's easy to get frustrated, even though I don't care. Once say I got the OnePlus 2, I would use it, review it, and then be done with it most likely, because there's a lot of other phones out there that I like right now. Plus, we got 2 Nexus devices coming up potentially. Note 5, S6. There's tons of other phones. Moto X Pure Edition. There's tons of other phones that I would want to use over the OnePlus 2.
Yeah.
So
they're killing
themselves. They're killing themselves, and that's fine with me.
Yeah, it's after they had a pretty big year last year, right? I think they've talked about how they thought they were only going to sell maybe a couple 100,000 phones. At least that's what they were hoping, and they sold 1.5 million or whatever. And they've got 5 million people on this reservation or invite list or whatever for this new one. And yeah, it hasn't gone well for them at all. They finally announced the phone, and that went off okay. And then they didn't make it available right away. And yeah, then they said, yeah, we're gonna have 30 to 50 times more inventory or whatever. And then they announced a couple weeks ago that it was delayed in North America, I think by 2 to 3 weeks. And then yesterday they apologized again because they said, we screwed up the launch. We're so sorry. We're going to like, at some point, somewhere down the line, we're going to open up sales for an hour so that everyone that wants it can just buy it. And you mentioned this, their website's going to crash and no one's going to get a phone. And they can't even like, that's the thing is they can't even lock down when they're going to do it. It was like during their apology, they were trying to think about ideas that might help redeem them. And so they just said, well, let's just open it up for an hour. And so then they sent out this press note that said, we're in around a month, maybe we're going to open up for an hour. Like they haven't even picked a date. They're just like throwing ideas and seeing like, it's just
what sticks.
Yeah. It's just, it's so bad. I know they're still a new company. This is their second phone. They're small. They're new to this.
Sure.
Man, I mean, you would have thought they would have learned after last year, because last year was kind of a disaster. I think we all just put up with it because they were a new company, and we were like, they're still making a really cheap phone that sounds great, so whatever. But second year in a row, like, come on, it's bad.
Yeah, some people say, well, the only way to stop OnePlus is to stop posting about it. But unfortunately, like I said, last year was a big year for OnePlus. They did make a phone that we did like. So, anything that they do now is sort of like newsworthy, considering that the OnePlus 2 it's got a good fingerprint reader. It's got a still good design, great price. It just lacks NFC. I mean, it's still a good phone, but just no one can get it. So it's kind of, it's news, I'm sorry to say.
Yeah.
Like in a world that we cover, which is like Android news, it is news. So
it is. It's news.
I'm sorry to everybody, but OnePlus is topical. So
yeah, they are. So we'll have a phone at some point. We were supposed to have one a month ago, but now we'll have one at some point. Yeah. And unfortunately, it's going to get pushed to the back of the pack because, like you said, we have Moto X Pure Edition now. We probably have 2 Nexus phones in the next couple of weeks. It's OnePlus is going to get shoved back, and that's another way they screwed up. Like they announced this phone, and then Motorola is now out, Samsung's now out, Nexus is coming, iPhones are out. Like, not good for OnePlus. Yeah. Anyways, we'll get there when the phone decides to show up. So, let's see. So, I mean, it's a short week. That's kind of it for Android stuff. Should we already move into Apple? I feel like we haven't talked about anything Android related.
Apple was such a big day for us too. Not only the Apple folk, but for us here too. So yeah, we can talk about it.
Record number of unfollows and stuff like that. Yeah. Record number of like really butthurt people over nothing.
calling us immature.
So immature and salty. So salty.
Amateur.
It is amazing how amateur and salty we are. I've never seen anything like it.
It was really funny. It was really funny. I mean, like usually, you tell when someone's like trolling, right? And they're just saying stupid things just to get a rise out of you. Right. But people, even when they do realize that they're being trolled, they can't stop themselves from engaging. And that's, I think, what made it so funny. But
yeah. So what Tim's referring to is every time Apple has an event, we do a live chat or live blog, whatever you want to call it. And we just poke fun at everything Apple does because Apple does things that are easy to poke fun at. None of it is serious. We don't take ourselves seriously half the damn time, but it's hilarious because number one, it's fun to make fun of Apple because they just think they are the gift to the world, right? And they invent things, and we all know that whole thing. Anyways, we like poking fun at it. But the other side of it is that when we do it completely with like tongue buried in cheek because we think it's hilarious and we're kind of trolling, people get so mad. Like if you ever wondered if it was true that there are Apple fanboys that will do and say anything in support of Apple no matter what, like these are the days that prove it time and time again. It's almost like how people get with sports, right? They have their favorite sports team. And if you say one thing about their sports team, like they will threaten your life and like want to murder you, even if it's a joke. It's like that with Apple. Like you just poke fun at like a little thing here and there and people just go nuts. It's hilarious. I find it hilarious. I know not everyone does, but I think it's hilarious.
I think it's pretty funny. I mean, what are you going to do, right? I mean, people get upset. I mean, it kind of sucks, because we're not here like poking fun at the owners of the devices. We're just poking fun at the idea that Apple is like super pretentious about everything they do.
Yes.
And it's like no big deal. It doesn't affect us. Kellen has an iPhone. We both run Macs at home. Like, it's not that we don't like Apple. We just enjoy making fun of Apple.
Yes.
And we do the same about freaking Android OEMs, Like, I talk smack on OnePlus or HTC. I mean, it doesn't
LG.
matter.
How many times have I made fun of LG for just copying everything that Samsung does? Like,
Exactly.
we do this to everyone.
Everyone is fair game. We don't. It's like, so they hold 2 major events a year. It's like the 2 days out of the year where we can really just say whatever we want and have fun with it. And we don't have to like be strict NBC, CNBC reporters or anything like that. And it's just fun. So it's all in good fun. I like seeing people get upset because it shows how passionate they are about technology, and I think that's great. Passion is everything to me. So yeah, good for them.
Yeah, good for them. Good for being passionate. All right. So, anyways, they had this event. Apple did. Big event. They announced some new stuff for the watch. I think just a new rose gold color of the Sport Edition, and then some new bands, like an Hermes band, which I think is a grand or something. And it looks terrible. I'm sorry. Actually, there's a whole line of Hermes bands, and they're just a piece of leather with contrast stitching. I don't understand why people are so excited. I guess it's the brand thing. Whatever.
It is.
So they announced that for the watch. That's kind of it there. Then they announced a giant iPad called the iPad Pro and the Apple Pencil along with it, which is a stylus. And it only works on the Pro as far as I know. And then they announced a new Apple TV, which is to replace the old little Apple TV, not an actual TV, people, just a little box that plugs into your TV. And then, of course, the iPhone 6s and 6s Plus. Where do you want to start first? We should like end with the iPhone 6s.
Yeah, sure. We could get the iPad Pro out of the way and the pencil.
The giant iPad and the giant pencil. All right, so iPad Pro. Where's the damn specs for this stupid thing? It's 12.9 inches or something, right?
Yeah, 12.9 inches.
So 12.9 inch display. They upped the resolution though. It's 2732 by 2048. So it's still kind of that squarish 4:3 ratio. I mean, it just looks like a giant iPad. So it'll look familiar, but it has like 4 speakers. It doesn't have the super 3D touch that the iPhones have, right?
No Force Touch. Pretty sure. No Force Touch.
Comes in silver, gold, space gray. The 32 gig model starts at $799, so $800 for this thing. Why that's Wi-Fi only. If you want the 128 gig LTE model, it's $1,000 or $1,079. That's crazy.
That's worth every penny.
That's so expensive. So they put a new A9X chip in it, which is a better processor, as far as I know, than what they put in the 6S and 6S Plus. It has a camera, obviously, so you can just picture people like holding this thing, like taking pictures.
Yeah,
it's so great. Front camera, obviously. I mean, they do a ton of crazy stuff with it in terms of specs. It's just a giant iPad. And then accessory wise, they introduced a sort of flip out keyboard that acts as a cover, sort of like Microsoft did with the Surface and Google did with the Nexus 9. And then they announced, this Apple Pencil, which charges via Lightning and costs $100. And we sort of poked fun at that. Actually, the whole internet did, because a few years back when Steve Jobs said that, that no one wants a stylus. But this is a pencil, not a stylus. So I don't know who this is for. I was talking with Dave, our friend Dave Cover, about this the other day, and he seems to be a fan of it. And I guess I just don't see who it's for, other than this like really small market. I don't think this is a mass device, or am I just the only one that thinks that?
You might be completely mistaken. However, I don't see any other 12.9-inch tablets on the market, really. CES a couple of years ago, I think it was Toshiba. They were coming out with these super large 13-inch tablets or something like that, these like triple XL tablets. And they said, well, in some markets like Asia, highly populated, like Hong Kong, Tokyo, super dense populations, the tablet is their only means of content consumption. So they don't have a TV. So instead of, viewing movies and TV and stuff on a smaller tablet, they just have one large tablet, for everyone to gather around and watch whatever they want. So like I could see that being cool for, say, if a family, I guess a family could just stick an iPad Pro on their coffee table instead of having a TV or something like that. But I mean, for content creators like Dave or something who wants to like physically draw an icon, I guess that could be cool with a $100 pencil. But I guess for me, like it doesn't, the size just doesn't offer anything. Like it's not mobile at all unless you have like a backpack specifically made for it or something, because it's so large.
Yeah.
I mean, I was looking at one picture, a girl was holding it up, and it was like the size of her torso. It was kind of ridiculous. So it's a large device. I'm sure Tiny Wings looks great. I'm sure it's like fun to play things on it, but like Apple doesn't do anything very well to make use of the space. Sure, you can have 2 windows open, 2 apps going on. So like some real multitasking is like coming. So that's great. But I just don't see it being as useful as, say, something Samsung could do with such a large display where you could have 16 apps open at the same time or something. And like, say, the home screen is just not made for that, because now there's like 4 inches between each icon on the home screen. And
it looks super goofy, yes.
I feel like they just could have done so much more with it. But, I'm sure there's not going to be any shortage of people who will buy this device and love it to death and think it's the greatest thing ever, because people love Apple, man. Anything they put out, it'll sell. Doesn't matter.
People do love Apple. It's gross. I guess I get it's for maybe some countries like you just mentioned, creative types that want a big canvas to draw on.
Yeah. But that seems still like a small market.
Pretty small.
Not mentioning like the highly populated areas, markets and stuff, but like, if you're a content creator, I think that you're a pretty small market. I mean, not everyone's a content creator. Yeah. So,
and I guess just people that want a bigger iPad, but the regular iPad's pretty big. It's almost a 10-inch screen.
Yeah. Like I wouldn't want to read a book on a 12.9-inch tablet.
Because you can't hold it in one hand to do anything when it's that big. Like you either have to lay it down on a table or hold it with both hands. So sure, it might be nice to watch a movie, except it's a 4:3 screen, so it looks lots of black space. But you can't hold it with one hand because it's too big, and so then you can't use it unless it's laying down or in both hands. It just like good luck typing with your thumbs or anything. It's a giant iPad. I mean, Samsung, made a 12.2-inch Note Pro a year or so ago, maybe even 2 years ago now, almost, and no one cared.
Yeah, they sold 5 of them. Like, it's like whatever.
So yeah. And I'm sure the Pencil will start working on other iPads like the next time the new iPads come out. Whenever the next iPad Air comes out, I'm sure the Pencil will work with it. And so then people will need to upgrade if they want this Pencil. Okay. So that's the iPad. It is what it is, right? It's a giant iPad.
Yeah.
Let's see. So Apple TV. I would argue that Apple TV was like their biggest announcement, but I think other people probably disagree. So Apple TV, it's their new Apple TV box, and it doesn't do 4K, which is interesting. But it has apps, which Apple thought was a really big deal. Apps have obviously been around on all sorts of other smart TVs and Android devices that connect as TVs and all that for a long time, but it has all those. They have a Siri remote, so you can ask Siri things and have it pull up episodes of Modern Family with Edward Norton. So I think the Fire TV can do that too, right? I mean, I'm not mistaken, right? The Fire TV's been able to do that since like day one.
Yeah.
So that's not necessarily new. And I know people were like, oh my gosh. It has a touchpad on it, and you can use it as a Wii remote to play games and stuff, which I guess is kind of a big deal. But again, no 4K. Starts at $150.
I mean, the thing is just not future-proofed. I mean, with no 4K. I mean, you even got NASA launching a 4K channel. It's like, come on. I mean, come on, Apple. Like, what, are you so cheap? Like, you don't want to add some 4K compatibility? Or, they would add it and it'd be $500.
Yeah, I find it odd, especially because the new iPhones can now record in 4K. So you would think people would want that content through their Apple TV, AirPlay it or whatever you do. And no, you can't. It'll tone that thing back down to 1080p.
It'll look great too, I'm sure.
So, TV apps are TV apps.
It's got Crossy Road multiplayer exclusive. That's pretty sweet.
It does.
It just doesn't really offer anything that would make me even want to give it a try.
Yeah, not really. I mean, it's if you already have a Fire TV or a Nexus player or an NVIDIA. I see NVIDIA. So ever since Apple announced this new Apple TV, NVIDIA's been just hammering us with press emails about, and even just promo emails to anyone that's bought one of their products about how like welcome to the party, Apple, and things like that. It's been really funny. So all these other systems have been doing this stuff where like you can stream things and Netflix and whatever, play music through your TV. This is not really that new, but it's a big step from I think their old Apple TV. So whatever. When is it coming out? Or are they still not announced that either? Oh, it just says coming soon. So weird. Like Apple announced all this stuff and it's all coming soon. Okay. So iPhone 6s and 6s Plus, they sort of upgraded them. This is an S year, so it's never a whole brand new device. It's just an upgrade over last year's in the same basic frame and all that stuff. So let's see, we got a rose gold model, which looks really, really pink. There's some rose golds that are pinkish, and this is definitely on the pink side of rose gold. Even the box is coated in pink Apple logos and iPhone 6s logos. It's kind of crazy. So let's see, what did they upgrade? A9 processor,
Force Touch,
3D touch,
better camera, right?
12 megapixel camera that shoots 4K. Like that's it, right? They shrunk the battery.
Well, they had to put in that haptic feedback thingy.
That's right. They put in the
haptic engine.
Taptic. Don't they call it something stupid like taptic?
Oh, taptic. Yeah, maybe.
Taptic.
Who can keep track of everything that they invent?
I have no idea.
The list goes on.
So yeah, they threw in 3D touch, a new camera, shrunk the battery, made a pink phone, and I think it weighs quite a bit more because they don't want dipshits bending it and filming it on YouTube.
Hey, no.
But the resolution's the same, display wise on each phone.
Retina HD or whatever they call that.
Yeah, so one's 1080p on the Plus, and the other one's just barely over 720. The camera, I'm sure, is going to be awesome. I mean,
cameras are always good. I mean, that was like one thing that everyone can agree on. Like iPhone cameras are always pretty solid. However, I do believe that on the new lineup of Samsung devices, Samsung definitely beats the iPhone out in terms of pictures.
I would say so too.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll see now with this new 12 megapixel sensor, but
sure.
Yeah, I mean, the Galaxy S6 and Note 5 take amazing pictures, and they're insanely fast.
Yep.
They are a pleasure. So that's I think that's kind of it. Well, they announced these new ones do via voice over LTE, which is new, I believe, to these models.
That is crazy.
They have a new 2nd gen Touch ID sensor, I think, as well. So hopefully they're faster or something like that. iOS 9, obviously. They still come with earpods.
Those redesigned earpods too, which are pretty good.
Yeah, that's what I use to run with, actually. I can't do any other. It's so weird. They're like my favorite headphones. I know, I'm a weirdo. I think that's it. So then the other thing they announced with them is that they're doing this skipping the carrier sort of pricing model thing where you can basically finance one and pay starting price of $32 a month. And that includes Apple Care. And you pay that monthly, and then every year you can upgrade to a new iPhone. You just trade yours in, and then you start another one when the next iPhone comes out. So it starts at $32 for the 16 gig model, which we didn't mention yet. So Apple is still doing 16 gig phones, which I know Motorola is too, but Motorola is giving you an SD card slot, so it's not as big there. Apple's still going 16 gig base models, which is crazy because now these things shoot 4K. And they also do those live image things they showed where you take a picture and it's basically like HTC Zoe where it shoots a little mini video too. I mean, people are going to fill up 16 gig in a hurry. I feel bad for anyone that buys that. There's going to be people that can't necessarily afford to go $300 for an iPhone with 64 gigs or pay $50 a month or however much it's going to cost. And so they're going to settle for that 16 gig. And 6 months in, they're not even going to use their phone. They're going to have to delete everything off it and start over. That's too bad.
Yeah, even our very own Ron Afringa, he's running out of room. I saw him post a screenshot on Twitter today. He was completely out of room on his 16 gig
That's
iPhone
right.
5C. Poor
That's
guy.
right.
I feel
Poor
terrible.
guy.
I feel like I need to start up a GoFundMe page or a Kickstarter to get him some more iCloud storage. Because, no SD cards in the iPhone. So, sorry, Ron.
Poor Ron.
No.
I'm assuming he's going 32 or 64 gig the next time.
We'll
All right,
see. I mean, those, like you said, they're expensive.
They're expensive as hell, yeah. Let's talk about this 3D Touch, which was previously known as Force Touch, and then Huawei like scooped in with their phone at IFA and called their stuff Force Touch. So Apple changed it. I don't know what I think about this. So you can apply little bits of pressure. It's basically like a long press in a way with different amounts of pressure where you can peek and pop things.
Ooh.
So you could like quickly jump into a specific contact from a home icon, or in an email, you could peek at an email and then long press harder and it'll like pop into the email, or you can get back out of it if you just let go. You can do some things like that in Instagram and in your gallery where you just peek at them if you want to. It's kind of an interesting idea, and I sort of like, just in general, the idea of like touching something and having shortcuts. Like, Android kind of has something similar with third-party launchers. You can swipe on icons and have them do different things. So part of me kind of likes the idea. What I don't get is that it's complex as hell. Like, think about if somebody that's maybe not necessarily a techie nerd like we are, they're gonna like barely press on something and see a menu pop up and not know where it came from, and then they're gonna try to go back and find it, and then they can't figure that out, or they're gonna try it in every single app, and it's probably not gonna be consistent across the whole OS from app to app to place to place. They're gonna be like 3D touching some things, and they're gonna work, and others aren't. It just sounds crazy complex.
You're describing my mother's experience with an iPhone, it sounds like.
Right.
Yeah.
See what I mean, though? Like somebody that's not us. I get it. I think it could be potentially useful, but I don't see everyone else going, yeah, this is awesome. I'm totally going to understand how this works.
It's a cool idea. We'll see if it gets implemented by developers properly. And I could see it almost being like a nuisance at times. I mean, like the idea is super cool. And of course, when you got Yanni Ive just like talking in that voice saying, oh, we've created these senses,
you can peek and pop, Tim.
It's like, what? I mean, you gotta love it, but kind of makes me want it just because, just to like try it out, look at it and stuff. Like, it's a good idea, and everyone was like, oh, my HTC Desire from whatever year had long press, and it's like, yeah, like it is long press, but it's a bit more. You can't be so black and white about it,
right?
But it's like one of those cool things that Apple does that it might seem small or whatever, but it could really change the way UIs kind of interact with touch, and I think that is cool. Like, I always give credit where credit's due. Don't get me wrong, but
yeah, it's definitely kind of a new idea. And I get like we can do the long press comparison, but I'm with you. It's slightly different. Like, there is some pressure involved. And there's nothing on Android where you can like sort of touch an icon and it pops up a menu of quick actions that I can think of. Can you think of anything on Android that does that? I can't really think of anything. I just know there's actionable icons and stuff.
Yeah, that peaks and pops.
Yeah.
No, not really. I mean, yeah, just long pressing, I guess. I mean, like tap to or Google on tap or whatever, but it's not really the same or anything. Really the same, yeah. I mean, tapping on stuff and things happening is cool, but it kind of takes it to another level. It adds an additional dimension to the UI, which is good because I'm always complaining about iOS being so simplistic and boring. But this actually kind of spices it up a little bit. Like they had what's his face go in there and just throw in a little bit and went bam. I can't even think of his name right now, but yeah, that's about it. I mean, it adds a little bit of flair.
Like they did some things like live wallpapers on the lock screen, which is kind of stupid and not really that big of a deal, but just it's a subtle touch where you can force 3D touch, whatever the hell it's called, on your lock screen, and the wallpaper starts moving and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, it's just these little things. I still think it's too complex for most people, but I would like to try it. I think it has potential to be kind of a cool thing. But it's only an iPhone 6S and 6S Plus thing because they have the special like massive Taptic engine thing, which is why they shrunk the battery because they had to fit all this thing in.
Right.
So I don't know. I wouldn't doubt it if somebody on Android figures out how to do this without a Taptic engine.
Emerald is who I was talking about, by the way.
Emerald Lagasse.
Yeah.
Bam.
I love that guy. I can't even think of his name. It's Friday.
It's been a while since we've seen Emerald.
Dude, it has been a while. What happened to him?
I think he just retired because he's insanely rich.
Good thinking.
Yeah. So, anyways, that's pretty much it, right? It wasn't the craziest Apple event ever by any means. They announced some stuff. It was obviously I'm an Android guy, but I thought it was pretty damn boring. The Apple TV whole spiel went on way too long. They were showing app demos and app demos and app demos, and everyone was going, can we get to the phones already? And then they got to the phones, and all they had talked about was 3D touch, the camera, and the new color. That's pretty much all they talked about. They didn't mention the battery, anything. And then they went into pricing and pre-orders, which I think start tomorrow.
Right.
So, yeah. I'm sure there'll be good phones, but nothing really groundbreaking stuff there. I don't know. Anything else?
When it comes to Apple, I don't think so. I think we got it all.
Yeah, I think that was pretty much it. Oh, they use 7000 series aluminum, which is supposedly really strong, and the strongest smartphone glass, which is now even stronger. Which is probably a good idea since they're going to be 3D touching the hell out of your screen. What was their ridiculous quote? It said like nothing has changed except everything. Oh, the only thing that's changed is everything. Only Apple can say stupid shit like that. The phones are out September 25th, by the way.
Sweet. I'll be lining up.
And we're not going to review one this year, by the way. We did the 6. I don't care enough about 3D touch to go buy another $700 iPhone.
Yeah, it's cool to do like the 1, like the 6, the 7.
Yeah, maybe the
8.
7. We'll
like the S. I mean, the S just really isn't all that big of a deal.
No, it's not at all. So, yeah. It's only 150. We've only been talking for like 15 minutes. It was such a short week. There's just not a lot going on.
Yeah, Google took it easy because they knew Apple was this week. It was Apple's week. It was their time to shine. And it was our time to shine on Twitter, and we took full advantage.
We took full advantage. It was it was glorious. Oh, the NFL Eliminator. Sorry, I don't think I can call it the NFL Eliminator.
I wouldn't.
The DL Football Eliminator challenge that we do every year, where somebody gets a phone for free at the end if they are the champion. It's open. And there was a game last night to kick off the season, but you can still make a pick because there's a whole bunch of games Sunday. So if you want to do that, get into it. The DL Football Eliminator. It's open. I think we have, actually, the last I looked, we had close to 2,000 people in it. So it's getting big, but it's always fun. And assuming you don't lose in the second week like I tend to, it's kind of fun to see if you can last throughout a whole year.
Well, I've got the Niners beating the Vikings week 1. So, I mean, they did beat them last week in the preseason. So I just feel like maybe they'll be able to bring it. And come on, Niners, don't screw me. But I'm actually really nervous about that pick now.
Yeah, you probably should be. I think the whole Niners team has been released on some sort of criminal level, and there's no one left. So I don't know how they even have a team.
We've got the rugby player. That guy went beast.
That's right. You do have the rugby guy.
Kick returner, running back. He could probably play all positions. So
he probably can.
Yeah, good for him. I mean, talk about the story of the preseason. That guy is so cool.
That is actually like the story that I followed as well.
Yeah.
Pretty good deal there.
But yeah, the Niners.
I took Carolina, so we'll see if Carolina actually will be decent at the beginning of a year, or I may be out.
Carolina, who they playing? The Jags?
It might be. It might be.
I mean, any team that's playing the Jags, you've got a pretty good odds going with you. So
Always.
yeah.
Yep, they are playing the Jags. I think last year, most people just whoever Jacksonville was playing, they just took that team. Didn't matter who it was. Even if it was the Browns, they were like, yeah, they'll still beat the Jacksonville Jaguars.
I'm really excited about to see like Marcus Mariota, see if he starts some games down in Tennessee.
Yeah, and your boy, I'm sure he's starting, right?
Yeah, we followed him through his career here at Oregon, and he did so darn good. And boy, if he would have won that championship, he might have gone number 1.
They are playing Tampa Bay, which is where Jameis Winston went ahead of him.
Ooh, yeah. Okay. This is going to be cool.
Quite the showdown there.
Yeah.
Good times. All right. Well, I got nothing else. Let's see. Next week, we'll probably, hopefully, get a Moto X review ready because I know people are waiting for that. We should have Moto 360 soon, I'm thinking, the new one, the second gen. I think we're going to take out Samsung Pay this weekend and maybe test those waters to let you know if it is the next great thing, which I kind of feel like it is. I don't know. We watched that video some guy posted of Android Pay versus Samsung Pay today, and Samsung Pay it looks kind of sweet.
Well, it just sucks. I got another email from them saying you've been invited into the beta. I'm like, that's great. I've been in the beta. Why am I getting another email? Because I don't have US Bank. I don't have Bank of America. So I don't have a card that's supported. So it's bollocks. And so I'm waiting. I'm waiting for like the official launch or whatever, so I can finally load up my just regular Visa card and try it out. So
like I said, I have a US Bank card, and that's a part of Android Pay, and it also is a part of Samsung Pay.
So I'll just go to the weekend, open up a US Bank account, throw $100 in there, and just play with it
just for the weekend. So I was able to add my US Bank card to Samsung Pay, and then it let me verify via text message. Android Pay won't do that. I have to call US Bank to verify, which is absolutely ridiculous. Like Samsung Pay is even ahead of Android Pay in that. Yeah. All right, cool. All right, well, I got nothing else, so should we just wrap it up for the week?
Yeah, hope everyone has a fantastic weekend, and stay safe out there.
Yeah, definitely be safe out there. Yeah, Droid Live Show episode 92. We'll catch you next week more than likely. Thanks for joining us. Peace.
Peace.